Hi, my name is Jake, and I am a bookish drummer. So for this video, I will be discussing my unpopular opinions on books, and this edition will be a rapid fire edition because when I started coming up with the list, I realized I really have too many to talk about here in a traditional video. If I spent too much time on all of these, this video would probably be like an hour long, and I don't want to do that. Y'all probably don't want to sit here for an hour and listen to me rant. So I'm going to kind of fire off these fairly quickly. I'll discuss it a little bit, but I have a lot of unpopular opinions on books, so y'all are going to hear that rapid fire. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I don't remember specifically if I've done a Stephen King version of this. I mean, y'all probably know a lot of my Stephen King unpopular opinions, but I will mention a couple right off the back. And generally, I'm just not the biggest fan of longer Stephen King books. And I think books like It and The Stand and 11/22/63, some of his most popular books, which are his longer books, I feel are overrated. Like, these are good books. Like, it is a great book, but I don't think it's 5 stars. I think it's more of a 4-star book. It's great, but everybody and their mom loves It and The Stand and 11/22/63. They would all put those in their top 5. But they're nowhere near my top 20. So long Stephen King books, not my favorite. I definitely prefer his novellas, short stories, and just short novels in general, like 300 to 400 pages. His longer books are overrated. This list is just in kind of random ass order, so not really going to be any kind of... It's out of order. Next up, Joe Abercrombie. I do not like Joe Abercrombie. I will go as far as to say that he is probably the most overrated fantasy author working today. All of this is subjective, by the way. Like, this is just my opinion, but I do not like the way Joe Abercrombie writes. I feel like he's overrated. I think everybody kind of crowns him like the king of grimdark, which I don't really understand. He's also, widely praised as being the best character writer, but for me, like, reading like the few books that I did, like Blade itself, and then I DNF'd the second book, whatever that's called, Galacta was good. He was pretty good. All the other characters were just kind of forgettable. So, Joe Abercrombie, most overrated fantasy author working today. Slay me in the comments all you want. Next up, we have kind of a book/movie take. This is, I think people are split on this one, but as far as Lord of the Rings go, I much prefer the movies. I would even go as far to say that the Lord of the Rings movies improve on the books. Now, I know a lot of Tolkien fans are not going to like that, but for me, I love, sitting down to watch these 4-hour movies and just get lost in it. But the books, for me, are a bit outdated. I don't love the writing. Obviously, the characters and the world building are outstanding, but just the way that he writes it isn't as engaging as, like, more popular contemporary fantasy of today. Modern is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, Lord of the Rings movies are better than the books, at least in my opinion. And we might as well keep the fantasy train going along. A Wheel of Time, in my opinion, I won't say it's overrated because I can see why people get along with it. But for me, it's just boring. I liked the first book. I gave it 3 stars, probably generous 3 stars. And then I wasn't really sure if I should continue, but everyone's like, oh, book 2 is one of the best in the series. Oh, book 3 and 4 are amazing. I got like a couple hundred pages into book 2, and it was just so boring, and the pacing is wonky, because it's like just chapters and chapters of nothing happening, and then when something finally happens, Robert Jordan just skims right through it. So for me, Wheel of Time, while it's probably objectively one of the best series, in my opinion, it's boring. Another giant of the fantasy genre of epic proportions is Malazan, Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson. I have a love-hate relationship with Malazan because there's some aspects of Malazan that I think are really cool. Some characters I think are awesome. Some scenes are still very memorable to this day. But I hate the way that Steven Erikson writes it because he writes it in a way that's just not very straightforward. The reader has to do a lot of digging and homework just to figure out what's going on in any given scene. So for me, Malazan is just too much of a chore to read. It's just too much. Like if you would have, I don't want to say dumb it down, but like if you would have simplified it a bit more, I think it would be an amazing series. But for me, it's just too much of a chore. So Malazan, it's just too much. And if Joe Abercrombie is one of the more like overrated fantasy authors working today, in my opinion, Red Rising is one of the more overrated sci-fi series out there. I read book 1 and a lot of people were saying like, oh, you got to get through book 1 and then book 2 is amazing. I really did not have a good time with the first book, but I was like, okay, I'll move on to book 2 and everybody says it's awesome, so I'll read it. And I really didn't like it at all. I liked it just about the same as book 1, which was not very much. So for me, Red Rising is very overrated. I will not be continuing with the series. It is what it is. A lot of people love this series. And by the way, you know, this is not to say that whoever likes these series are dumb or stupid, but like these are just all my subjective opinions. If you love Red Rising or Joe Abercrombie or Malazan, more power to you, but I'm here to say it's not for me. Now we got some Sanderson opinions to talk about here. You guys probably know that Stormlight is one of my all-time favorite series, so I don't really have anything to say about that for this video, but I will be talking about some Mistborn unpopular opinions. And for me, Hero of Ages, which is book 3 in the original Mistborn trilogy, is the worst Cosmere book I've read so far. I still have some of his Secret Project novels to read. I don't know if those are any good or not. I'll have to read them to figure out for myself. But Hero of Ages so far is definitely my least favorite Cosmere book. And I really like the first book in the trilogy. Book 2, Wells of Ascension, is fine, but book 3 is where it loses me, and it's just one of the worst like trajectories of a trilogy because it's so good to start with and then it just goes downhill. So Hero of Ages, least favorite Cosmere book. And speaking of Mistborn, I prefer Era 2 to Era 1, which I know most people prefer Era 1, but for me, Era 2 is just so much more fun. Great characters. I think tighter writing because some of the Mistborn books are a little chunky. Obviously, Stormlight's chunky, so I'm a bit hypocritical there, but Era 2 is where it's at for me. Also, a lot of this is going to be fantasy, by the way. Some of it will be other genres, but a lot of this is fantasy. We've also got Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I'm of the opinion that the first like 200 pages of this book are amazing. I loved the way that he introduced Quoth and like his origin, and just he set up a lot of mystery and it's very beautiful, and I loved the origin story of him. But when he gets to the university, it feels like it's a different book. It feels like he switched to writing something completely different, and I just don't like the tonal shift, and I don't think that really much happens in the university that's worth the hubbub. Like Name of the Wind is touted as like one of the best fantasy books of all time. I think it's overrated. I think it's good. I just don't see why people love it so much. And then I DNF'd book 2. It was just too boring. I got like 300 pages in and I did not give a damn. So overall, King Killer Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss, fairly overrated in my mind. Now switching to something that I think is amazing, but often people cite it as the worst in the series, I'm of course talking about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Now whenever I see a damn ranking video for the Harry Potter series, it's always people like, they'll start at the bottom and they'll say, oh, well, I love all the Harry Potter books. I give them all 5 stars. But if I had to choose the worst one, it's Chamber of Secrets. And I'm always like, no. Chamber of Secrets is amazing. It's the best in the series for me, bar none. It's always been my favorite since I was a little kid. It's still my favorite when we did the read-along for it. So yeah, Chamber of Secrets, it's so good. Come on, y'all. Speaking of books that I think are great that a lot of people, again, say is one of the worst books in the series, I'm here to talk about some Dark Tower. Again, some Stephen King for y'all. But a lot of people cite book 6, Song of Susanna, which is the purple one, by the way, as the worst in the series or one of the worst. I think overall people don't like Went Through the Keyhole. But of the main novels, people often cite Song of Susanna as the worst, but it's one of my favorites. Obviously, Drawing of the Three and The Wastelands are my favorite, but like tied for third really is Wizard and Glass and Song of Susanna. I love Song of Susanna. I love how weird it gets. I love that it focuses a lot on Susanna, one of my favorite Dark Tower characters. So Overall, I think people, I mean, Dark Tower rankings are all over the place, but for me, Song of Susanna just gets a bad rap. We've also got Murderbot by Martha Wells. A lot of people love this book. They love this series. They love how funny it is. But I listened to about maybe like an hour of Murderbot, and I just couldn't stomach it anymore. It had zero appeal. It was not funny. It was not entertaining. It just wasn't anything. Like, I just did not understand. This is one of the ones that just baffles me the most, of like how popular this series actually is. I'm just like, I don't understand. If you love it, fine, but I just don't understand. Along those same lines is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I've read several of his books. I've liked most of them, including No Country for Old Men, which is a great book in my opinion. But The Road, I just really did not get along with. The concept is cool because it's kind of post-apocalyptic with a son and a father. But by God, this book is so boring. And the dialogue, which normally for Cormac McCarthy is his strong suit, was horrendous in this book. I don't understand why people love this book as much as they say they do. But man, The Road, I had high expectations for, and I just did not get along with it. It had some good moments, but overall, just the story, the dialogue, the characters were just very subpar for Cormac McCarthy, at least in my opinion. Another author that I have just not gotten along with is Frederick Bachman, one of the most popular authors, contemporary authors working today. I just don't get it. Now, first of all, I did read Beartown, which is probably his most famous. My experience with this book, I think, got ruined because a famous booktuber spoiled like the book for me, and because I was watching one of their videos and they just kind of spoiled like the main thing that happens that the book's about. I'm just like, well, now I'm kind of just waiting for it to happen. So that book experience just really did not work for me, partially because of that, but also I just wasn't a big fan of the writing. But I wanted to try another one of his books, so I attempted to read Friends, or what's it called? My Friends? Yeah, it's called My Friends by Richard Bachman. And I got like 50 pages into this book, and I just could not stomach it anymore. The writing was just so pretentious, and the writer just wanted to try to make it seem like every sentence in the story and every line of dialogue was just so profound, and life is just like, oh, I couldn't take it anymore. So I might try another one of his books, but honestly, I just don't think his writing is for me. And I know he's super popular. I know a lot of people love his books, but I don't. I've also got to talk about one of the more popular horror authors working today, Catriona Ward. And I've DNF'd 2 of her books. I just don't get along with her writing style. I don't necessarily think it's bad, and I can see why people love her writing, but for me, there's just something about it I can't quite put my finger on it, and like, it's not tangible, but I just don't like the way that she writes. I wish I could articulate it better, but I DNF'd Looking Glass Sound. I got like 66% into that book. It was partially because of the writing, but also I'm really not a big fan of time jumps. And she did this thing where like this character is like very determined, all of a sudden like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. And then it jumps to like 30 years later. And I'm just like, okay, no, I'm tapping out. But another one of her books, which is also very popular, that I was kind of halfway excited about, was The Last House on Needless Street. I had heard so many people say that this was an amazing book with an amazing twist. But I got a couple chapters in, and I pretty much already knew what was happening, and I really didn't like the writing, and everything that I was reading was kind of like affirming like my suspicion of what the twist was. I was like, oh, yep, that makes sense. Oh, there we go. There's another hint. So it just was kind of boring for me in that sense, and I just, again, the writing, something about it, I don't like her writing. And then, of course, I DNF'd it, and then I watched some videos about it, and I was right about one thing, and then there was a lot of other stuff, but I just don't like her writing, and I don't think I'm going to be continuing to try her other stuff. Another very popular book, it's actually a Western, you might be able to guess what it is. This book I tried and did not get along with, and that would be Lonesome Dove by Larry McCarty? I can't quite remember the name, but Lonesome Dove, I had high expectations for because so many people cite this as one of their all-time favorite books. They say that the characters are amazing, the story is grand and epic, but for me, I just didn't get it. I didn't get it. And I'm kind of I'm slightly puzzled at why people love this book so much, because for me, the characters just didn't really do it for me at all. And I'm definitely a character driven reader. Like, I have to get attached to these characters, especially if you've got a 1,000-page tome like Lonesome Dove. I got to get attached to somebody. And I think there might have been like one minor character, like a little girl that I liked. But other than that, it just, yeah. This one was very puzzling because I was convinced I was really going to like this book. But for me, it just didn't work out. A book that I DNF'd by a very popular author that I really do enjoy. I've enjoyed 4 of her books, but this one book just did not work for me, and that would be Babel by R.F. Kuang. Now, I love the Poppy War trilogy, and I really enjoyed Yellowface, which was kind of more of a standalone contemporary book. Poppy War is one of my favorite trilogies of all time, just great epic fantasy, but Babel, or Babel, however you want to say it, I wasn't really convinced that I was going to like it because it is sort of like a magical fantasy school setting, which really doesn't work for me that often. It can with some books, but not really that often. And I think it started off good with like this character's origin story, but then again, once they get to the school, like a couple chapters in, I'm just tapped out because I just don't care. There's just a lot of writing decision and conventions with like just a school setting, and it's just not for me. So yeah, Babel or Babel, however you want to say it. And then going back to more fantasy series and authors that I recognize people really like them, and there's definitely good reason for it, but for me specifically, I don't get along with their books, and that would of course be John Gwynne. Now, I read Malice, and I liked it well enough. Like, it wasn't, like, my favorite thing ever, but it was good. Like, it was fine. But then I got to book 2, which I think we have somewhere over here. Bear with me. We have book 2. I got a little ways into this, maybe, like, a couple hundred pages, and I just don't like the writing. And at least with this one, I can kind of give a specific reason. I really don't enjoy short, choppy chapters, especially in an epic fantasy book where you've got just a cast of characters and a huge world to kind of build. Like, if you've got like 2-3-page chapters, even like a 5-page chapter, like that's just too short for me. I want to be in the character's head. I want to know like the setting and the world building. I want to know what's going on in the world. But for me, this author is kind of clearly more focused on the battle scenes and the tactics and all that stuff. And for me, it's good, but I need more than that. And this book was just, the chapters were too short, and yeah, that's how I DNF'd it. I just didn't really like the writing. And one unpopular opinion that I think could change with time, because I do want to eventually go back and give this book another shot, would be Dune by Frank Herbert. Now, a lot of people love this book in the series, and then it got very popular again with the release of the movies. But the first time I read this book, I just didn't get it. Like, I really didn't like all the weird kind of head hopping that he does. Like, you'll be, normally in a book, like if you're in one chapter or one scene, like you're getting the perspective of one character. But Dune, like, you're just completely head hopping. Like, you'll be in the thoughts of one character and then this character, and I don't like when authors do that. Stephen King sometimes does that, sometimes well, sometimes not, but it just really bothered me in a weird way. And also, I don't know, but I think if I went back and reread it, maybe with a bit more of an open mind, I could kind of see why people love it so much. So that one I am willing to give another shot, but for now, I didn't like it the first time I read it. And now we're going to jump into some more like horror and thriller books. And one of my all-time favorite horror books, if not my favorite, it's hard to tell. I've only read this book once, but it was just so good. And so many people hate this book. Like, you're either going to love this book or hate it. Most people hate it. But for me, Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky, in my opinion, is one of the best horror books ever written. And I understand why people don't like it, because a lot of the times they'll enjoy the first half, but then they figure out what exactly is going on, and then they're just tapped out. They're like, okay, I don't like the weird direction it's going in. But for me, I thought it was really interesting. I was really intrigued. And then the second half was just pure catharsis, especially towards the end. I love when an author can just have a very cathartic moment, and this book has several of them. So yeah, this book is just utterly amazing. But I understand why people don't like it. But for me, very unpopular opinion, one of the best horror books ever written. Also, along those same lines, one of my favorite thriller books of all time. Again, very unpopular due to a specific twist, which I can't spoil, obviously, but The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This thriller is awesome. But again, just like with Imaginary Friend, you get maybe like halfway or like 2/3 of the way through, and you realize what's going on, and you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And I think this book was kind of tailor written for my personal taste, and I loved the direction it went in. A lot of people don't. They think it's very out there and jarring and just not what was maybe promised to them, but I love the direction it went in. So House Across the Lake, one of the best thrillers, and I love the twist. Very unpopular. A lot of his other books are more popular, but like stuff like Final Girls and The Last Time I Lied, some of my least favorite Riley Sager's book. For me, House Across the Lake is where it's at. And a few more horror-related things. Joe Hill, if you don't know, Stephen King's son, who writes under the pen name Joe Hill, Joe King. I really haven't enjoyed anything that I've read by him. I think probably the one that I liked the most was Horns. That one was decent. It was pretty good. But other than that, everything that I've read by him, I've either given a poor rating or I've DNF'd. So I think Joe Hill is a fairly overrated horror author. I know most people don't like put him on the same pedestal as Stephen King, but a lot of people do enjoy his work. I do not. There's also a couple of like horror thriller books that I really enjoy the movies too, or at least I enjoy the movies a lot more than I do the books. One of them is definitely Fight Club. The movie is pretty good. I tried to read the book, and I just do not like the way the author writes. I think I've tried a few of his other books, and just not for me. Also, the same deal, American Psycho. Definitely one of the best horror movies ever made. Love the performance by Christian Bale. And I tried to read the book, or I finished it, and it's just one of the worst books I've ever read. Just, I don't have time to get into that. This video is already getting longer than I wanted to, but Fight Club, American Psycho, the movies are good, especially American Psycho, but the books, really don't like them. All right, so that is my unpopular book opinions, rapid fire edition. Not like super rapid fire. It's probably like a 20-minute video, but I tried to talk about as many as I could in a short amount of time without it getting crazy lengthy here. I'm sure there's more than that I can think of, but a lot of these are the main ones. Like a lot of fantasy ones, obviously, a lot of horror ones. But yeah, just in general, these are some of my unpopular opinions. If you're a longtime viewer of the channel and there's a specific one you were waiting for me to talk about, but I forgot it, comment down below how stupid I am or like how forgetful. I'm a very forgetful person, by the way. Stacy knows that more than anybody. But yeah, so that's what I got for you today, my unpopular opinions. Please let me know down in the comments what you think of them. Blast me in the comments for my horrendous views on books and society. Not society, but yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you are subscribed, stay subscribed for more content. Try to post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Thursday, the third Thursday of every month, which is tomorrow, if you're watching this video. I will be doing an off-topic Thursday video, and the discussion will be my favorite sitcoms of all time. Woohoo! And spoiler alert, this could be on the list. Possibly. But anyway, stay tuned for that tomorrow if you want to see me discuss some sitcoms. My favorite sitcoms, honorable mentions, and sitcoms that I feel are overrated. So be prepared for that. Also, this Friday, me and Stacy went to go see The Long Walk movie. So I will be doing the Long Walk movie review. So that'll be Friday, so stay tuned for that. I've also got the Bookish Discord link down below for anyone who wants to come join a bunch of buddy reads and read-alongs, and the Long Walk Readathon, which can start on October 1st. Sign up before then to join the Long Walk Readathon. Also got my Patreon link down below if you want to go support me there for as little as $1 a month, and my Amazon wishlist if you'd like to buy me a book. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.